Hello, Smite fans, and welcome back to the SCC over here in North America for the NASCC Championships with 8 new teams. I can't even say 8 new teams. You got your 6 SCC teams that were playing through Phase 3 and 2 SOC teams all battling for only 2 spots for a chance to play in towards the SWC group stages playing in January. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment, though, because I introduce myself and my friend over here, Trelly. That's J-Mac. Trelly Rella joining me over on the desk as we jump into our second week of the SCC Championships, this time over in North America.
First of all, thank you for calling me your friend, and also a quick happy birthday over to J-Mac. Just thought I'd mention it. Happy birthday for the second time, because I told you before this broadcast even started.
Well, I appreciate that one, Trelly. But yeah, we're over here in North America this time. We've got the teams from the SCC that you're familiar with, a couple of small roster changes. We'll talk about those whenever they do end up coming through, and a couple of SOC teams. All these teams fighting for a chance for the SWC group stage is going to be happening in January in our Road to Worlds. We've had a good portion of this Road to Worlds kind of roadmap go through already. We had our Phase 3 playoffs for SPL teams that determined who our top 4 were that are already qualified to Worlds. Then last week we had Europe for the SCC play as Hex Mambo and Highland Ravens qualified to the January 5th through 8th SWC group stage. And that's what we're doing this week, all weekend long, Thursday to Sunday. We'll have our NA teams battle out for only 2 spots to join not only their SCC brethren over in Europe, but the other 4 SPL teams who didn't make it, the Titans, the Warriors, the Scarabs, and the Valks. And we'll get to talk a lot more about placements as the remainder of the week goes on when we get closer to the Saturday, Sunday matchups where your qualifying spot will determine which group that you're in for that group stage in January. And then they'll all be playing for the Smite World Championships, January 13th through the 15th in Arlington, Texas at the Esports Arena. So you want to make sure for your teams, if you win games, you got a good chance at making it over to Worlds. We'll take a look at the brackets, though, because we do have 2 separate groups, just like last week, that we're going to be playing. And we'll talk a little bit about Group B real quick with the Athenian Sages and Blubber Bottoms, your number 1 SOC team in Blubber Bottoms, and Athenian Sages, your number 2 SCC. Yomi Tanuki and Shibalba Storm are the other 2 teams that are in Group B. Those matches will both be played today. As you can see, those are matches 2 and 4, which means we can jump over instead to Group A and talk about a couple of teams that we're going to be seeing right now. Eldritch Hounds and We Pull Up, your number 1 NASCC team in the Hounds, and your number 2 SOC team with We Pull Up. And then the Callan Wardens and Anansi Weavers will be your third match of the day and the second of Group A. And Trelly, kind of talking about the Hounds, this is a team for North America, for the NASCC. Hounds have been undefeated. These guys have not dropped a single set for all 3 phases. And not to say that, they've dropped a couple of games here and there, but for a team to go a full 3 phases without dropping a single set, there's very few teams that we see that anymore in the SCC. I mean, even if you look back at dominant teams from EU like Elysium, Belt Slap, kind of back in those days, those were some of the more recent teams that were kind of making plays like that were kind of up to that level. But the fact that we have like a clear-cut number 1 in Eldritch Hounds with a 5-0, and the next highest above them was like 3-2 after that one, just really goes to show how strong this Hounds roster is, and one of the favorites to potentially make it to Worlds, depending on the group ups that they get matched up with the group stages.
And that's the thing. I can't confidently say that any team can beat the Hounds because they haven't been beaten, right? That's the thing. I think that they can bleed. We've seen them lose a couple games. We've seen a little bit of sloppy play, but when they're on point, no team has been able to knock them off their rhythm. No team has been able to really unseat them here. So it's just an overwhelming level of confidence, and maybe that's what you're playing off of. You hope the team gets a little overconfident. Maybe they make a questionable play, hang around in the enemy well too long like Ducky's doing, those kind of plays, and you try and capitalize off it. But so far, it has been very difficult to try and get any sort of lead over the Eldritch Hounds. I mean, like I said, no teams have really shown that much promise in doing so. I think it's possible, but We Pull Up have a very steep hill to climb. I think focusing out the jungle could be a smart play. I mean, Oathhh, if he gets off to a good rhythm, this team looks unstoppable. But even when that happens, Dude Man Bro over in the duo lane has also shown that he can hard carry a game. And unfortunately, even if you just take those 2 players out of the conversation, Crimson has been able to just be so consistent in that mid lane with a very dynamic god pool as well.
I mean, you dial back all the way to Phase 1, and we're talking about Crimson, who died like 1 time or like 3 times in like 4 sets of play, and then he like doubled or tripled that in his last set because it was a bit of a, oh, well, we're kind of guaranteed our first seed. We can have a little bit more fun. Crimson out a few extra times out there. And it really feels like Ducky has made a perfect slot in towards this
Yeah.
team, gives them that veteran shot calling that they were kind of lacking in some of their prior phases. We'll see how they do. Up against the SOC team in We Pull Up. To give you a roster read off if you're unfamiliar with the teams on We Pull Up. It's DonutDoug in the ADC role, support TeepIsBald, formerly known as Mineral, Soul Reaper, PandaTurtle, and then Uzzy to round out the solo lane. So you got some veteran talent over there. You got a player like Uzzy, who's been around the scene for a while, Mineral, now TeepIsBald, which is his official name that he goes by now. So you're going to hear the name TeepIsBald as opposed to Mineral for at least for the remainder of the weekend, which still just gets a nice little laugh out of me there. But Mineral's been playing. I mean, he's even got some SPL time, played with Maui a little bit back on the old Obey roster a few years back. PandaTurtle is another player who's been familiar with there. I think this is a team that has obviously a lot to prove coming in as the number 2 SOC, trying to face off against the number 1 seed.
Right.
You expect this team to try and do their best to try and take down the Eldritch Hounds. Whether or not they get a win is to be determined, because, again, it's hard to take a set off a team like the Eldritch Hounds. But I think with players like this one, even with DonutDoug over in the ADC role, I think this could be a very sparks-flying fun team to watch.
Whenever I see an Uzzy team, I always say, are we in an Uzzy meta? And currently there's a lot of Cthulhu. RDO is still being played over in the soul lane. Not too much Odin, but besides that, I think that this could be a meta where Uzzy flourishes. You know, there's picks that he likes to play in this current team. So I think playing through solo could definitely be an option, right? If PandaTurtle is able to go over and say, hey, we know Ducky's over there. Maybe we try and get Uzzy ahead so he can deal with Ducky, try and deal with those rotations, that sort of thing. Could be a strategy that We Pull Up employ. With that being said, I have to echo a bit of what you were saying. It's not going to be easy. I mean, the Eldritch Hounds play such a clean brand of Smite. You really have to make sure that you're making little to no mistakes, especially in a situation like this where your chance to go to Worlds could be on the line of you just getting this dub. So I think they certainly have a lot of talent on this roster, though. We Pull Up, you know, it's not going to be easy, but I think they've got what it takes.
Yeah, certainly so. I mean, this is an SOC team again. They got some strong names with them. I'm going to be especially keeping my eye on TeepIsBald, who was playing duo before this, was playing that ADC role, has had some time to play over into the support role. I mean, this is a multi-role player out there. And I think, as you said, Uzzy versus Ducky is probably going to be the matchup to watch. Is this an Uzzy meta? I'd say we're halfway there. We got a couple of his picks out there, but at that same time, we've been seeing a couple of bans towards those picks out there. We've been seeing Cthulhu taken away from a lot of teams just because you don't want to fight a Cthulhu. You don't want to have to actually battle a Cthulhu when it comes to late game. So a lot of teams may just be banning that one out. The RDO has been picked up. Been seeing it in the support role a little bit more often, at least at the SPL level of play. Curious to see how she kind of slots with the SCC more than anything. So the good news is we don't have to speculate much longer. We can jump into the picks and bans for game number 1 between the Eldritch Hounds and We Pull Up for the NASCC Championships day number 1, set number 1, and game number 1 as we jump right in to the picks and bans for those ones. I am curious how much priority the Hounds will be putting on to trying to ban out a player like Uzzy. How much priority and how much stock do you have in the solo lane? Or do you maybe try and focus out the jungle, as we've been seeing a lot of kind of picks kind of rise back up in the jungle, maybe a couple of picks kind of fall to the wayside. Right out the gate, though, we do see the Dodgy and the Thor as jungle bans taken away, Charlie.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call these, you know, targeted bans. This just seems like top meta at the moment. You don't want to deal with the Thor in most cases, especially if you're not first pick. And the Cthulhu, that was almost a given, right? You had to take that one away, even if you're against Uzzy. Even if you're not, I think Cthulhu is just so demanding in the team fight. Probably smart to remove that from play as well. Well, as you said, the Dodgy, the Hades, and the Cupid from We Pull Up. A lot of CC heavy comps that they're trying to get rid of here. A lot of, you know, beads burning, that sort of thing. And it looks like, because the RDO is banned away, the Yamoja is going to be the call. Uzzy might have to dive a little bit deeper into the God pool, but you get Yamoja, so I think that's a fair trade.
Yeah, I think getting Yamoja probably at least feels pretty good for We Pull Up, one of the top supports in the meta right now. Vulcan on the opposite side for ErupTCrimson. Throw that over into the mid lane. Crim's been performing very well throughout the entirety of the season. Vulcan has been a pick. He's been able to slot in pretty nicely in that regard. But yeah, a couple of shots over towards Uzzy, the Cthulhu and the RDO, kind of those top two that you named for Uzzy now banned away. Those still notably, I think picks like the Nike kind of comes to mind. Odin as well, as you highlighted earlier, could be options, and maybe depending on how much sustain or maybe how much lack of leaps there are out there, maybe we could see an Odin make his way onto this roster.
If Odin's getting picked, I need to see it like right now. You see Vulcan, you see Ishtar, two gods that would, you know, hate the Odin, this is the only time you're picking it. Because if not, it would be before that Bans. And even better, just take a Guan Yu. You know, top of the meta solo laner, gonna bring a ton of sustain. You already have Yamoja, so Kursonk was getting picked up anyways. You might as well just lean into it. I like grabbing the Guan Yu before that next wave of bans, but the Hounds are actually gonna grab the Maui before their next wave of bans as well. That's a pick that we've seen a ton for early pressure over in the duo lane. Slot an Ishtar to that lane, and you've got some of the best early pressure as well as clear that you can get.
Yeah, I mean, when we look at Phase 3 playoffs, Maui had kind of a 50-50 depending on how some of those games were going. Sometimes the Maui was absolutely dominating. Sometimes the Maui really couldn't do a whole lot. That range initiation really solid for a support like this. I think over in the EU SCC, we saw little to no success with this god. So I'm curious to how he performs on the North American side of all of this out there. And coupled with an Ishtar duo, I think you're right to say that there's a lot of pressure and a lot of kill potential maybe over in that lane. With some shots in the jungle, at least as far as the second wave of bans do go through there, is you have the Lancelot, and then the tier towards the solo, and then Naja and the Fenrir banned away. But Susano kind of still have a top pick out here. How do you kind of feel about the Susano right now?
I love the Susano. Any jungler that could just build like red items with Eye of the Jungle or Bumba Spear, either one, and has that 100-0 potential in the back line, as long as you have a fair bit of movement and you can get in, get out, I think it's always going to be a good time. And that's sort of the hard carry style playstyle that Oathhh likes to lean towards. I heard gotta go fast, and that just made me jump. There's a Mercury in this game. That is going to be interesting. Whenever there is a Merc, there's always some play potential for these dynamic ganks, but you do not want to fall behind on a pick like that, especially up against Susano. I mean, there's just so much AoE damage there from the Hounds. So we pull up is pretty much hit or miss. You got to make sure these Sonic Boons are hitting very early on.
Yeah, this we pull up draft that they've lined themselves out with. Yamoja, Cernunnos, Guan, Discordia, Mercury, Discordia. Definitely going to be those. It's one of those gods we kind of used to see a couple with the King Arthur, who was the win harder style of solo lane. Let your solo laner free farm and get yourself a win. We'll see if we can pull up an upset in game number 1 as we throw it over to Dulcet and Gore.
That's right. Let's kick off this North American SCC or SOC qualification to World's Group Stages weekend. That's the official title, by the way, Gore. You got to say that whole thing. The official SCC or SOC World's Group Stage Qualification Weekend. That's the event.
I like the North American, I don't know, championship that we're calling.
The NASCC championship. Yeah. That's a lot easier. We pull
but that's not as all-encompassing.
Not as all-encompassing. You're right. Against the Eldritch Hounds here, Gore. And I remember I was casting with Myth last weekend with EU SCC. It was Hex Mambo versus one of the SOC squads from EU. And I threw down the gauntlet for Hex Mambo. I said if you, because we constantly talk about Hex Mambo as the team that's going to potentially upset one of our SPL squads, qualify to Worlds. The Hounds often talked about in North America as the SCC team that could cause an upset to happen. I think if that's going to be the case, Gore, the Eldritch Hounds need to have a big win here over We Pull Up, the number 2 SOC squad. Need to see a good one here from the Eldritch Hounds.
Yeah, I think it very much in the exact same vein that we had last week, right? Where you have to be incredibly dominant. I think it's actually harder, though, over here. I mean, Personnel ended up kind of turning up the heat throughout EU, which I was very happy to see. I think they had some phenomenal drafts, things like that. And much like what We Pull Up have been able to do, I think this is a very solid draft, things like that. But you're the number 1 seed if you want to be the team that is like, hey, we're going to beat the Scarabs, we're going to beat the Valkyries, the Titans, the Warriors, the Ravens or the Mambo now at this point since they're already over there. Wherever you end up, if you're going to make it top 2 here, you need to have a very secure win this time around.
Yeah, back-to-back F6s, hard to do. But we'll see if the Eldritch Hounds can still find a 2-0 nonetheless. Now, what I noticed with the SOC teams, and I will shout out PandaTurtle getting aggressive early on the Mercury, gets the beads off of both. So that's a nice start for We Pull Up, the SOC squad. What I will note, feels like the North American SOC teams should be very competitive here this week.
For sure.
You know, I don't know if you're favoring them. You might like a first blood look, as Oathhh will dash away. He'll be safe. But still PandaTurtle wreaking some havoc over in mid. Still, though, you look at a roster like We Pull Up, there's SCC past talent on the squad.
Yep.
You've seen players in competitive environments in the past. I don't think you can discount potential upsets for this We Pull Up squad.
And that goes just as well for our SOC1 team, right? I mean, you just have so many names, so much history behind them. that you have to give it a little bit of respect. I don't know if the Hounds have been doing is. Look at this, Crimson's so low.
Crimson will escape. My goodness. So PandaTurtle starts off this game, I think, wonderfully for Weepull-Up. Granted, it's just been sitting mid. None of this is hidden, but it's gotten beads off of both Oathhh and Crimson. Unfortunately, has not gotten first blood, and that allows Oathhh to rotate right and pick up a blue buff invade against Uzzy.
PandaTurtle is not playing an early game Mercury right now. He's just playing the early game, and he's playing it really well. Like you said, just shy of getting the first blood, but Oathhh doesn't have beads for another minute. Longer than that, over 2 for Crimson. So a lot of wiggle room to work with in mid. You're going to hit level 5 soon, so once you get that ult available, I mean, Vulcan's a sitting duck in that lane. It's going to be very easy to just line up a shot from behind the tier 1, snack him down, and then whether it's with an apple from Soul Reaper or just a Strife and kind of Discordant Magic combo, you're pretty much set for Weepull-Up, I think, for an easy first blood kind of alley-oop onto the Vulcan.
Yep. Yeah, I want to lean into the Discordia a little bit even, because I think Disco's in such an interesting spot where it's not often. I haven't seen Disco, top of the mid-meta tier list for a couple years now. But, and maybe this is just personal bias because I really like Discordia. Feels like the type of pick when I see come out, even when not in meta, Dude Man Bro's going to get dashed on by DonutDoug, but the damage simply better from the Eldritch Hounds duo lane. We're talking about mid. Eyes should be on duo. That's where the Eldritch Hounds have found first blood.
So that's going to be the one way as PandaTurtle you don't get first blood here. It's if somebody else gets a little faster, the duo lane being able to set it up so well for themselves. And a lot of that is set up on Quig. And, we've talked a lot about this Maui and really kind of driven into this pick to, compare it to the Emoji on the other side, which is that you're not going to put out a lot of damage. Admittedly, Emoji's got a lot of healing, but if you're Maui, you are a setup machine. You've got move speed for your team. You've got pulls on pulls on pulls. You've got CC set up for days. But you're not going to be the guy that's killing someone. No. You are really going to be pulling them in for Dude Man Bro. You're going to be pulling them in for Crimson, for Oathhh, and making it so much easier for the rest of your team to really kind of step up. And that's going to be, I think, some of the struggles, right? You look at Crimson, a little bit of CC, nothing too heavy, need the Maui. You look over towards the Ishtar, enough CC, you can set your own things up of your Ishtar. Maybe going to need some help. That's the other side of the conversation. It is this Discordia, what you were talking about a little earlier. Not just able to get the kill, but like good damage. Strife it's still one of my favorite CC abilities just in the game.
A good Strife, man.
And so with that combo with PandaTurtle, I think you're set if you're Weepull-Up.
Yeah, it's fantastic CC. And I guess that the core of my statement about Discordia is really that even when she's not in the meta fully, feels like that style of pick that can get locked in, and I'm never really fully worried about it. I still think it does enough on its own.
You're never going like, man, why are you locking into Discordia?
Why in the world is it a Discordia? It always feels
She's always decent.
Just fine. So Weepull-Up. They've had some aggression early on here in game 1. That'll continue with not only a kill, but a blue buff invade for PandaTurtle and TeepIsBald, who will pick up the blue buff over on the other side. And when you talk about these potentially lopsided matchups, the SOC #2 team versus the #1 North American SCC team who's been dominant all phase long. How do you win those types of games? Where does the Eldritch Hounds team coordination start to surpass that of Weepull-Up? What stage of the game, things like that? I think starting off aggressively has got to be square one for these SOC teams, and Weepull-Up has done that wonderfully.
Not only that, but playing the map really well already. We haven't gotten to any massive neutral objectives, right? Gold Fury's still there. Pyromancer's not even going to spawn in for 4 more minutes. But being able to try and keep this pace, get for some of the, go for some of the smaller invades, is actually a huge deal at this point, especially against a team like the Hounds. Trying to keep that balance and keep the gold lead as close as possible as you transition into those team fight phases is going to be a big deal for Weepull-Up. That's where we see, SOC teams falter versus SPL teams, or for SCC teams, and then SCC teams falter for SPL teams. Is always that farm game, and that's, I think, going to be the biggest struggle to overcome.
Dude Man Bro, aggressed on by PandaTurtle. Mercury ult is down. It's in duo lane. You got to figure that's just from right of one side of the lane to the other. Now, Dude Man Bro without beads and ultimate for a little bit of time. Rusher start for PandaTurtle is a bit different, Gore, from what we usually see on the Mercury. I think Golden Blade is a very popular first option for Mercury.
Helps
something like Katana Tree. into crit a bit later on, but sort of a hybrid between ability-based and auto-attack-based here. Maybe that's why you're seeing some of this harder hitting early Mercury play.
And it is going to be interesting as the game goes on. One of the benefits of Mercury is the fact that you know, your Made You Look procs in-hand abilities from items. So the reason crit's so great on Mercury is not just because you're going to one-punch people, because when you throw out any ability, you're almost guaranteed following up with some sort of in-hand, at least proc. And so a different start, but you know, it's that small change, right? I think Crusher gives a lot of good stats on it. The only difference that you're going to see, or the big differences you're going to see in a Crusher versus something like the Golden Blade, first off, is going to be clear in the jungle. Obviously, PandaTurtle's not hurting for it. He took care of that, no problem. So passive-wise, maybe not necessarily hurting too much, but you are losing some attack speed, movement speed that comes with the Golden Blade item, things that Mercury really loves and can really utilize, but it's a bigger power infusion, a lot earlier, like you said, aggression-oriented kind of item. And so for PandaTurtle and the way that he was playing, I'm loving it. I think that he can keep rocking it. Already starting up a crit tree item as well, so I expect this to be a very strong Mercury in a couple minutes.
TeepIsBald is now getting aggressed upon by the Eldritch Hounds. Will throw up the River's Rebuke, but the aggression too strong. And that, I was about to start talking about Oathhh, because Oathhh, Gore often talked about as the next player up. When you look at SPL and their junglers, when we've had some jungle changes throughout the year, Oath's name has always come up. And PandaTurtle's been active early. Needed to see something from Oathhh, and finally we see a kill drop. But now it's Ducky, who's got SPL experience as well. Getting two-man ganked by We Pull Up. That'll open up a door for a Gold Fury on the other side of the map, but no, just a clean kill. We pull up on the veteran player and Ducky over on right.
Yeah, Quig too low to try and hold that Fury for too long. Didn't seem like a good spot with two people looking at you to throw Crimson or Dude Man Bro to tank the Fury. So good presence from We Pull Up, not only being able to find the kill, might even be able to lock down Oathhh.
Oathhh will turn around a kill in what was a lopsided fight. That's why we're talking about Oathhh in the jungle, in the Susano, and the potential that it has. That tier 2 hi-rez really does some work there in that fight.
Its image isn't pulling its weight.
Weak in stature, but God, we are far too early into this weekend. Far too early into this weekend for me to already be diving into that. But
you've already got me conditioned, though, to see that and to think of the cocktail wieners that you would get. That's what it is. It's
a
little
spear on
fork.
those. Well, it deals a lot of damage, Gore. Now the threat is, and I'm really excited about this jungle dynamic already.
Yeah.
Two solo potential type junglers scaling later into the game.
And not only that, you know, diving into Oathhh specifically a little bit more, I think Aurora had said it, you know, in some of the interviews that we had with them during the face-to-face playoffs. They were discussing, like, you know, who were they going to grab with layers not coming down, where was it going to be? And he was just like, look, we had to decide between Susano and Oathhh, and I'm like, that's a hard decision. Susano, with a little bit maybe more of the history behind it, makes it a good choice. But knowing that you've got that level of jungler, someone that was being looked at for an SBL team very recently here for the Hounds, has to be a really, really big, not even weight on your shoulders, maybe relief for the rest of the team. Weight on Oathhh, right? You have to perform. 2-1-0, already looking good. Finish the hi-rez as well. And so I feel like we're going to get to see a lot more of the Susano. The downside is much like you said, what we're going to see is two very different styles of jungle. And it's just, can you keep up with PandaTurtle's damage?
Man, Ducky getting ganked again, but this Amaterasu has scaled and the dazzling offensive perfectly timed. Unfortunately, there's still a sonic boom awaiting Ducky. TeepIsBald will be the one to snag the kill. And now it's Oathhh on the disengage, but Mercury's got lockdown up and over goes Quig. And Oathhh has gotten a kill elsewhere on the map. So across the map, you get this 1-for-1 trade. And really, Gore, on opposite sides of the map for both teams are suffering similar fates. Ducky's been ganked a couple of times, 0-2. Then you sweep left. DonutDoug ganked a couple of times, 0-2. Oh, is it not bad?
Yeah, it's
bald. It's bald.
I was trying to figure out. He hasn't come up in my conversation to say it.
I keep saying TeepIsBald. It's bald. Well, I don't know. Either way, potentially a shot at Teep. But difference is, Gore, DonutDoug has fallen behind as a result of a couple of these ganks. Ducky has at least been able to stay even.
And that's the big deal, right? If I'm taking anyone who's going to be 0-2-0, you're going to want to throw it either on your supports first, then your solo laners, right? A frontliner taking the brunt of that. Ducky's going to be able to find farm anywhere and everywhere. And admittedly, both times he's died, it's been at Uzzy's blue buff. It has not been, it's been a gank. It has not been because Ducky couldn't get out of there. It's because Ducky's been deep in the jungle.
Right.
And so it's a lot easier to try and find that. But when you look at the other side, you've got DonutDoug falling behind, 0-2-0 versus 1-0-1. A lot more pressure that's falling on this Cernunnos right now, actually benefiting from no one being in lane, so getting a little bit of neutral farm to help kind of balance that back out. But knowing that Dude Man Bro has that level lead, will be able to make some rotations or even go for a solo kill a little easier, definitely is going to weigh on you. So I think DonutDoug has the worst end of that trade.
Yep.
Especially because Ducky, I mean, at this point, you've got the 2 items that make Amaterasu feel really solid. Most of it's in your kit as well. I feel like they could have rotations from Ducky that feel impactful, more so than what we get out of DonutDoug.
That's a Sonic Boom down mid. Get the beads off of Crimp. Worth it to an extent. Now Teep the Hairless pulled back in mid by Quig. And a disengage there. I got it right that time. Apple out from Soul Reaver. Nothing to be had there either. Quig has absorbed so much of this pressure in the last couple team fights here, and it's really paid off for the Eldritch Hounds. And Gore, very quietly, just a 1-kill difference. The Eldritch Hounds have pulled nearly 4,000 gold ahead, just shy of it, here in the first 13 or so minutes. And this is the difference you often see with some of these top-tier SCC teams. The ability to farm and pull every bit of gold out of the smallest of advantages, and another one there for the Eldritch Hounds. Oathhh solos out, I guess with the help of Quig. PandaTurtle, and another one drops. 4-1 now on the Susano.
And look, they can continue to get aggressive. I mean, you've got the numbers advantage. You just mentioned it, but a massive gold advantage. We were talking about it 8 minutes ago, how that's one of the big struggles that SOC teams have against SCC, SCC against SPL. It's always the farm game that makes the big difference. You know, fight has been there for We Pull Up. Presence has been there for We Pull Up. But once you start to fall behind, especially in the gold in a moment like this, you lose 1 kill, and you're lucky it's not immediately a Fury, right? And that's only because it's not up.
TeepIsBald under pressure, but will make their way beneath the Tier 1 tower. And this is where Oathhh starts to flex those muscles a bit, Gore, right? Where early in the game, PandaTurtle had been finding all the pressure in mid, got a couple sets of beads off. It was just a matter of time. Couple items needed for Oathhh, now 4-1 and about a level ahead of PandaTurtle. But that has converted to a 2-level lead over in mid, where Crimson, also Gore, the type of player that's often in the conversation of, all right, we need a mid laner, we're in the SPL, who's the next player up?
Yeah.
Plenty of conversations include Crimson there, and they've got a now 3-level lead over Soul Reaper here in game 1.
And honestly, I expect to see this kind of continue with the way that Oathhh has been playing. I mean, 4-1, you are a massive part of this. You haven't even included a massive team fight. And when you start to get into team fights, I really like what the Hounds have picked up. I do love what Umoja, Discordia, you know, we were talking about that earlier, but, you know, Uzzy, depending on where this is, it's a 2-level difference, despite the fact that Ducky's died twice. I mean, you're really getting more impact from the Amaterasu in some of the later team fights than what you're going to get out of Uzzy.
We've seen this story plenty of times. Ducky around the blue buff, Ducky uses Dazzling Offensive. Now, normally, there's a Sonic Boom awaiting the Amaterasu. But this time, Ducky will back away safely with the rest of the Eldritch Hounds, and it's back to the Pyromancer. We Pull Up got the first, and the second Pyromancer of the game swings to the Eldritch Hounds. Now, in 20 or so seconds score, that Primal Fury is going to spawn up. This could be awkward timing. Now, We Pull Up. Do you notice Eldritch Hounds shifting left a bit? So the threat of the Fire Giant, sneaky Fire Giant pull diminishing a bit, but you're gonna have to choose somewhere to fight here. If you're We Pull Up, you've fallen heavily behind.
Yeah, I mean, you said this a lot last week, and I think it's true here, but you got to draw a line somewhere, right? You got to step up, because right now, I mean, wow, it's further to 7,000. If you don't fight at this Fury, it's going to go to 8K, with the Pyromancer already going down, as well as you know, Fire Giant at this point in the game starting to become a conversation, especially with the lead that the Hounds have. 3 levels in jungle, 3 levels in mid. You know, let's call it 1.5 over there in the duo lane. It feels like you've got a very small window to try and step into this. And this is always one of the problems. You know, I have to throw the Mercury under the bus only because, not because PandaTurtle's playstyle, he's been playing it really well.
I guess out of Soul Reaper.
Okay.
Actually, some good damage back onto Oathh. And a nice 2-man attempt there from Crimson and Oathh, but well played by Soul Reaper.
Keeping things safe, good for the mid laner. But we have to start seeing PandaTurtle get back active in this, right?
agreed.
And a lot of it is just, anytime we see a Mercury, once that Rage is online, the time that it takes to stack up is a huge
Oh,
indicator.
that's a 3-man from Quig! And then a 2-man stun on the back end from Dude Man Bro, and Primal Fury to the Eldritch Hounds. We pull up, they made their call. They said this is where we're fighting, and it was the wrong choice, the wrong number. And they'll lose a couple team members. We pull up, Will, as well as the Primal Fury. It does not get much better than that for the Eldritch Hounds. Perfect engage, objective secure, and now a rotation to FG.
I recognize that there's not like a lot of games for this. That might be the best Maui gameplay
that
that
was
we've
great.
seen. A 3-man pull right into the team, plus you get to steal the objective, then you secure a kill. You TKO 3 people behind that kill. That's one of the freest Fire Giants, and they got it. And just such a clean engagement from the Hounds. And we pull up did what we wanted, right? They stepped up, they fought.
They pulled up.
Now it's look. I'm even talking Phoenix defenses. I don't care about these tier 2s. There is enough of a gold gap that if you step under those, that's gonna happen, right? You just do not. This jungle is not yours.
Yeah.
Those tier 2s are not safe havens. You will die, and I think that's something that we pull up are gonna potentially learn the hard way here. As Soul Reaper gets caught out in the jungle.
Get used by the Discordia, but the Typhoon knockup so strong. My goodness, Oathh showing us why. We always talk about him with FPL spots opening up, but has chosen to get it done with his team. And on the verge of getting it done here in game number 1. Oathh at 6-1-0. Simply outclassing We Pull Up. Now 2 solo kills in the last minute or so. Has pulled 4 levels ahead of PandaTurtle. Gore, I feel like there's like a rage curse we often see with Mercury, where the game teeters on a knife's edge the moment the rage is bought.
Yep.
And either it tips and we see that rage fully stacked in like 2 minutes, or it goes the other way and we never see a stack drop on that rage. I feel like for some reason, there's just this unspoken force at work. When a rage gets bought, either the game slows down and sputters out for the Mercury,
Especially
Or it really
after the
gets
start PandaTurtle had. Like,
Right.
you bought the Rage, and somehow that ended up being a brick wall that
Right.
you ran into
You're
instead.
smacked.
I mean, we're talking about someone who I anticipated getting first blood, because I was like, look, you're almost level 5. There's a Vulcan on the other side that has no beads at the time. Instead, Crimson's got triple goose eggs, has not been touched. Oathh is
4
6-1.
levels up. My God.
Yeah, things have changed dramatically in favor of the Hounds since that. And that was 4 minutes in. And there's just a few things that you're not going to be able to get away with. And I said it before, but I'll say it again. The line of scrimmage is at your Phoenixes. Those tier 2s are not safe havens. Nothing in this jungle is going to be worthwhile. And PandaTurtle dying there honestly makes it so much easier for the Hounds to walk in and start to DPS the base.
Yeah, there's no big threat of a Mercury suddenly initiating on you. Now, the Eldritch Hounds would probably tell us they don't feel that threat anyway. They welcome a sonic boom in because they're just going to turn and burn the Mercury.
So, the level 14 Mercury? Yeah, Oathh is 19. Let's deal with him.
Even Quig, level 16, 2 levels ahead of the We Pull Up jungler. Now everyone on We Pull Up has fallen behind. I don't think you can lay this strictly at the feet of the Mercury, but no one's been able to pull an advantage this game for We Pull Up. And now the Eldritch Hounds looking for the end. That's an Earthshaker down from Crimson, hoping for his first kill of the game. Wild Hunt, a decent connection and a big shell out. Does force Oathh back, but not without losing 2 of your birds.
Yeah, it's that, you won a small skirmish, didn't even get the kill, so that shutdown gold doesn't even go into your pockets. You don't make up anything there. And what does it cost you? PandaTurtle's life, Uzzy's life, and 2 Phoenixes on the left-hand side. Look, We Pull Up. I think the early game was really solid, but yeah, I think that you are already at a point where it is almost all but the Titan. The Hounds, though, I mean, look, you're still in a position. This is actually where you can get, like, hubris is a big deal, right? If you could bite off way
The
more
North
than
American
you.
SCC
If
for
they
sure.
jumped in to the Titan room there. I love the fact that they fell back because we have seen several teams throw leads like this. And granted, given what we saw last week as well, 10,000 gold isn't enough to guarantee your win. We've seen some interesting turnarounds. But the level lead, the experience gap, that's what we pull up is focused on right now. It is just stop these fire minion waves from dealing damage to the Titan and try to get yourselves closer. You've got level 20s for 4 out of the 5 rolls on the other side. Your highest level is just barely besting the Hounds' lowest in terms of Quig, who's 2 levels up in the jungle, 3 levels up in his role. And so I think that it is farm, farm, farm right now. That is what you are focused on. You are not, that Primal Fury doesn't exist to you. That Pyromancer that was taken shouldn't have existed to you. This Fire Giant should not exist to you, because if you step up to it, you're just going to lose. Yep. It is all about trying to get any amount of experience into your pockets to make it so that the fight that happens around either the right side Phoenix or in your Titan room goes more in your way so you can start to step out.
Oh, no. We pull up. Gore, they're taking your advice. They're not fighting around the FG, but the Hounds have brought the fight to we pull up speed buff. The Typhoon is big, but we pull up.
This is huge, actually.
With the first kill in this engagement, and now a chance to chase down Oathhh. That's unbelievable, but now Ducky can dash back forward, gets the kill on the Soul Reaper. A double stun out from Dude Man Bro has forced the beads, and now Oathhh can reinitiate. Since dying early in this game, Oathhh has gone 9 straight and will chase down his 10th, and it's DonutDoug. Eventually will fall prey. A double kill for Oathhh and 10 straight kills to end game 1.
Now, that starts out real beautiful for We Pull Up, because it does something that I think both myself and the Hounds were not expecting. They didn't fight at the Fire Giant, which is the logical place to maybe step up to and try and defend. They didn't just sit back in their base. They caught him out while the Hounds were trying to go for something, and it kind of caught him off guard, surprised him in the jungle, you get a kill. In that moment, there was a time. Oathhh was super low, and my brain is like, that's a big shutdown. If you can get that kill, it'll be great. The minute he dashes away, your team's got to get out of there, because otherwise he's now the bait on the end of a fishing line. And they already had Maui. They know they've got an excellent fisherman over there. And they bit down, hook, line, sinker, pulled him in, and suddenly it's just a very easy sweep for the Hounds because of the lead they have.
Now this is expected, right? I mean, it's the most lopsided matchup you'll get this weekend with 8 teams participating, number 1 versus number 8. And again, if we're talking about the Hounds and potentially upsetting SPL squads, potentially making their way to Worlds, you got to win games like this, like that. And the Eldritch Hounds were able to get it done here. Game number 1. We'll see. Maybe there's some pushback from We Pull Up. Game number 2, right around the corner.
got plenty of time. That we got plenty of time. Yeah, we got plenty of time. We got plenty of time. Yeah. We got plenty of time. Plenty of time. We are young and we got plenty of time. And I've got nothing else but you on my mind. We got plenty of time. Yeah, we got plenty of time.
Hello and welcome back to the NASCC Championships. Game number 1 between the Eldritch Hounds and We Pull Up goes to the Eldritch Hounds. And both these two teams are fighting for their opportunity to make it to the SWC. And one thing that you can do to prepare for the SWC is to pick yourself up a jersey to represent your favorite SPL squad. Thanks to our friends over at Skulls, you can go to shop.hi-rezstudios.com/SPL and pick up a jersey for your favorite team out there. If you're coming to Worlds, bring your jersey. If you see your favorite player from that team, maybe get them to sign it. Do whatever you want with those jerseys out there. Just make sure that you pick one of those up, courtesy of our good friends over at Skulls, providing those for our players and for you at home. But game number 1, I mean, Charlie, this one is kind of hard to break down beyond just Oathhh kind of just diffed over in the jungle. I mean, he was 8-1 at one point when they're sieging up to the base. Got a couple of extra kills to boot out there. And this is just kind of the level of dominance that we expect out of a player like Oathhh and out of the Eldritch Hounds in a matchup like this.
Yeah, when looking at We Pull Up's draft, I saw the Mercury and I immediately said, if this Merc doesn't get off to a booming start, it's not going to be easy. I could have phrased it differently and said, it's just over, but, you know, I wanted to see if that Merc really could make the difference, and I think it just was not able to get online, wasn't really able to get the wheels turning, whereas this Susano was certainly able to get the wheels turning. It just seemed like Oathhh was, anywhere he showed up, sparks were flying, and he was able to just absolutely gank every lane and pretty much get credit for all the kills as well, you know? It's one thing when you gank and you get your lanes ahead, but Oathh's like, no, I will be last hitting these kills, and I will be putting my team ahead.
Yeah, and Oathhh did just that. Also, some really sick plays throughout the game, like this one from Quig to kind of get things started up over at the Primal Fury. Set up for the potential steal there at the end. I believe that was with DudeMan able to grab that one with the Rolling Thunder. And DudeMan kind of getting off to a good start in the dual lane with his partner Quig. And whenever we talked about this kind of Maui before, how Maui can be a really big pop-off god, could also be a god that does sometimes absolutely nothing in a game. This is certainly one of those ones where you get off to an early start. All right, as soon as I hype him up, he misses an ultimate like that one. But that ult aside, I was really impressed by the performance that Quig had on this pick. Really did get that nice setup for his team, set up for that triple pull earlier on over at the Gold Fury, and even kind of help get that first blood over in the dual lane to get DudeMan Bro started and really keep DonutDoug behind.
I want to see less Uzzy bans. I don't want to see Uzzy on Guan Yu. If I could get the Cthulhu or the RDO at least once, then I think I'd be pretty happy just with the continuation of this set. But unfortunately, you know, the Hounds coming off a game 1 like that, the mentals of We Pull Up have to be either A, short memory, we don't remember that game at all, or B, got to get pressure in the jungle. Can't be going towards something that doesn't go online until late game. Like the Mercury, of course, at level 5 has some great opportunities, but is not as mobile as Susano can be, and definitely it's not explosive in the early. So I'm thinking early pressure in the jungle, definitely the way to look here for We Pull Up.
Yeah, Oathhh definitely can't be allowed to kind of just free roam through the jungle and get as many kills as he did. Like I said, 8-1 by the time they're pushing up Phoenix Sieges, add a couple more beyond there, and then it's just pretty much curtain call for game number 1. So maybe trying to put a couple more bans over towards Oathhh. I think you might be right on a call like that. Try and take away some of these power picks from him. Whether you dedicate all your bans to him, maybe not the wisest, but we'll see what changes do get made by We Pull Up as we jump to the picks and bans for game number 2 to see where they put that priority in there. I think they had probably one of the better dual lanes that you could ask for. I mean, you get Umoja Cernunnos, a top pick in both of those roles respectively. Maybe over into the mid lane, getting away from this Discordia, maybe on towards maybe a double hunter composition, maybe towards another style of mage out there that we are a little bit more accustomed to. Though I will say the Discordia kind of buffing up the Guan Yu did help Uzzy out in that lane, regardless of how the remainder of the map was going out there. So I'm not too down about it. I think I'm kind of with you. Maybe change up the Mercury just a bit.
Yeah, could be the call. And it looks like so far, same bans. I don't think the Hounds have to change anything up, so my money's on an RDO in that slot. But I was going to say, will we pull up change anything? They're actually just going to take away the Yamoja. So clearly they have something else in mind that they would like to first pick. And now the Hounds have that option. Will they take away the RDO? They certainly will. And now it's time to see, what did we pull up make the adjustment? What was the change that they decided to ban away the Yamoja in this slot instead? And it's going to be the Vulcan. I was going to say, like, well, what could it possibly be in this case? They don't want that one going over to Crimson, and they want a little bit of extra burst confirmed towards these objectives. Could be a smart place to look.
Yeah, making sure that you have maybe a little bit of pressure in that mid lane as well. Hit that level 2, you can get turret drop down, or you get that meatballs, get some CC, some peel for yourself in mid. And also just take a strong pick away from Crimson. But we talked about maybe trying to take away the Susano before Oathhh had a chance to get it. Typically, kind of the bottom 2 is where Oathhh makes his picks. Not going to wait that long, Charlie.
Yep.
Immediately, top pick, Susano for Oathhh. But maybe some changes can be made up around here with the Ishtar now for Dude Man Bro. 2 of the same picks, at least the Eldritch Hounds. What change would you like to see from We Pull Up to try and deal with the Susano early?
Maybe an Osiris, like an early warrior jungle could be the call. Something that bullies Susano, something that can invade his back camp, something that can chase him around and just be annoying and make sure those ganks don't come through. It looks like so far just going to grab the Tyr and the Cernunnos. I like the Tyr a lot. I think Tyr actually deals with Susano pretty well, just immuning his knockups and just trying to bully him as well. If you're starting Blink, Tyr can be a menace. So I do like the Tyr for starts, as well as the Cern. Has a decent amount of self-peel. The one issue is there's a reason Oathhh picked that Susano so early, and it's because you're into a Vulcan. You can just dominate Vulcan in the early with that pick.
Well, the Guan Yu that was for Uzzy last time is now going to instead go over towards Ducky on side of the Eldritch Hounds. So the Guan versus Tyr solo lane matchup. Something that we haven't gotten to talk too much about just because both these gods really haven't been meta that much, Charlie. We've been seeing a little bit of Tyr kind of pop up after kind of the showcasing of Deathwalker and how good this pick can be, some of the buffs that have come his way, some of the change-ups to healing and whatnot. We've been seeing a little bit more Guan. How does that solo lane matchup kind of go when it more so comes to the team fighting stage? Because we know how solo lane, we know how laning is going to be over there, but talk to me a little about the team fight between these 2 picks.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you want to know about the lane, they're going to ignore each other and they're going to heal. That's what that lane is going to be. The rotations in, however, is going to be a big deal. Like I said before, the Tyr, I think, does have a good matchup into Susano if you can find him. Your job is to make sure Oathhh can initiate, right? So you blink on him first, try and get those beads and say, hey, now your beads are down. Are you really wanting to get aggressive? Whereas Guan Yu is going to be sustaining up the team, setting up with cavalry charge, going for, beads pulling or just the initiation for the team fight. There's a lot that the Hounds can do with this draft. And I think following it up with an Ares, I was just talking about beads burn. What are you burning the beads for? Possibly a no escape there from Ares.
Yeah, so a powerful pick now for Quig in the dual lane. So Ares Ishtar feels like it is a just disgusting lane to go against, if I'm being honest. So the Fire's out there. You're going to help be able to full clear this wave up with Ishtar really easily over there. Ymir and Athena do get banned away. I was wondering if we were going to see it. We are in game number 2, Charlie. Odin picked up to go actually not towards Uzzy. I just thought about it. The Tyr is already there. Are we seeing an... Wait.
Come on, man. That's the
Tyr
Trungle.
jungle?
That's the Trungle. You see an Odin picked up on Uzzy's team and you think he's taking Tyr? No, that's the Trungle.
So is this the warrior... You were talking about a warrior jungle maybe to try and deal with the Susano. Is this the warrior jungle to deal with Susano?
I will say, like, once you finish Crusher or Jotuns or Brawlers, your first just mace item, you can 100-0 Susano, especially if Oathhh goes Blink. But considering the fact that there's a lot of CC here, I wouldn't be surprised if Oathhh does respect and go beads just because he doesn't want to deal with it, and or the confidence of just being the #1 SCC team that has not lost at all may just be like, I'm gonna just get Blink anyways. I don't mind either way. It's just gonna be that Tyr's gonna have to chase Oathhh around for sure.
I will say there might only be one other person more excited to potentially be seeing a Tyr jungle in this building than me, and that's probably Gormize. And the good thing is that we can go over to Gormize, and he's joined by Dulcin as we jump into game number 2.
Well, Gore, you have to...
I'm joined by you here.
That's right.
So that's right. We're getting into game number 2. It's
Do you want to just swap roles?
Gore and Dulcin. Do you want to swap roles? I'll
No,
do
I
it. I
don't.
do it all the time.
Nah, for the sake of viewership, I'll pass.
Are you sure?
To
We
be
could,
clear,
we could nail it.
I think you not only can, but you have shown us that you do both. Chair 1 and Chair 2. For the sake of viewership, I will
Might
not
be
be
doing both
attempting.
today. I can't remember.
Honestly, you might.
Why do I make the schedules and then completely forget what they are within a week?
Well, we have 15 sets of matches this weekend, so
It's forgivable.
forgivable this time around. Refute or agree with the claim that you are hyper excited about a tier jungle.
I love tier jungle, but I love it the most in season 2 and 3 and not season 9. It's just such a weird thing. So you go back, and this is going to be, for those of you who want, you can go to the Smite wiki, go all the way down to the bottom where like the changelog is, and there's a certain point where I believe it was damage reduction on the Fearless chain, and then a higher damage on just the cleave,
Right.
and more healing on the cleave as well. A lot of it was just meant to shift and did successfully. Tier out of the jungle into the solo lane, and that's pretty much where we've only ever seen him. But like one of my favorite things, I used to love it. The only time I ever enjoyed playing jungle was I watched Lasses do it on his stream, so that's how old this is for those of you who are watching and maybe don't know who I'm talking about. You would just go in, you'd play tier jungle, and it was just such a fun thing because he's got really good engage, right? If you think about the ult, you think about the blink, you've got good in and out. Fearless, really good setup, decent damage. I think the thing we're going to see right now from PandaTurtle is going to be whether or not his scaling that got hit hard back then to make him a solo laner will still work in the jungle or not, I think is the big question. But otherwise, for the things that I'm looking for in a jungler, he's got them.
Well, Uzzy's going to need some help from all of that gore, I have to imagine, because it has been a tough start to the laning phase, where Ducky has pulled a bit ahead, but also basically had that wave shoved up beneath the Tier 1 tower throughout the entirety. We talked a lot, Gore, about the jungle matchup in Game 1. PandaTurtle started it off very well on the Mercury, came to a screeching halt after that, and Oathhh simply took the game over, ended the game on a 10-kill streak, did Oathhh. And so I wonder, if this is a style of pick for PandaTurtle to try to swing back a bit. I know the death's sort of set up, blink, beads, those types of things. Oathhh ends up going beads. Obviously his beads are down, and PandaTurtle's blink is down, so I have some type of idea of what happened there. This PandaTurtle giving himself a chance here in Game 2 to be competitive with the Eldritch Hounds and Star Jungler. But Ducky, remember, died plenty of times around these blue buffs in Game 1, now looking for another invade. And Oathhh is here as well. Blue buff confirmed by We Pull Up. But Ducky in the Prot Shred has sent Uzzy and PandaTurtle both away.
And this is going to be the big problem I think We Pull Up is going to face here. They did really well early game last time. I think that this draft, if it falls behind anywhere near the amount that it did in the first like 10, 12 minutes last time around, it's just done. I mean, PandaTurtle's not going to be able to fight back. Uzzy's not going to be able to fight back from the deficits that they were playing into last time around. You just get way more from the other side. I'm actually surprised, and maybe it's just because they know they aren't going to have to deal with it for a little while, but like there's no Phantom Shell on the other side just yet for Eldritch Hounds. So maybe after level 5, your level 7s, if you get some really early ridiculous rotations from Uzzy, there might be some lockdown. But the question is, who are you locking down, right? I mean, technically, you can get the Susano in there. You can get the Guan in there. Ares is going to be locked in there, and Ishtar can get locked in there. Most of those people you're not going to see at level 7 in the mid lane. You rotate over there, you drop a cage on Merlin, he just flickers over the wall, and he's fine, right? So there's, I think, a lot of pressure later on for this. Oh, no!
Ishtar! Oh, he's... Oh, it's heartbreaking. No, Oathhh, not like this. You end the game.
That's not even the first time that's happened this month.
On a 10... Did Oathhh die to a
Not Oathhh, no, but like we've
somebody...
had people, Panatom died to the Speed Buff Centaur.
What is the
Speed Buff Centaur's 2 in 1,000.
What's the cooldown? Also, Ducky solos Uzzy just now. What's the cooldown on Caster's Curse? We've been gassing Oathhh on that 10-kill streak, and then even at the start of this game.
Well, so last game, He died once, then get on a 10 kill streak. He's just getting the once out of the way. 10 kills from here on out, baby.
Yeah, but let's be honest. That's like actually likely what'll end up happening, just given how good Oathh normally is.
He died.
Yeah, dying to the speed buff.
Oh.
Unforgivable. This is your king, SCC. This is it. Yeah, it is, because Oathh is still going to go on to a tear.
Hey, he's in good company. Purportedly one of the best junglers, if not in some eyes the best jungler in the world, died to one earlier this month. So theory, you're there. You're locked in.
Let's watch this one back. Is it even all that close? No, he's...
See, so he missed it.
Kind of. Oh, he needed one more auto reset. Just got the abilities off of cooldown. Miscalculated, unlucky. And now behind is Oathh, 1 level.
That's the best win PandaTurtle's gotten all day so far.
That's right. Bit ahead of Oathh. Though Oathh was able to rotate through, steal some back camps away from We Pull Up. But time spent on map from PandaTurtle has allowed for about a 1-level lead. Now remember, a big story as well, Gore. Now a lot of it flowed through Oathh in game 1, but Crimson, before all of the killing really happened, had pulled, called a 2-3 level lead over Soul Reaper. Just enough pressure was there. And Merlin is one of Crimson's best picks. I mean, this guy is just so good on the Merlin. Great at space control and pouring out damage. And already, 2 levels ahead of Soul.
I want to call you out, though. It feels a little like a cop-out. I feel like Blank is one of Crimson's best picks.
Fair.
Works for pretty much the entire mage tab.
Right, that is true. But I do mean it with Merlin.
Yes, for sure with Merlin.
As we're now seeing PandaTurtle maybe feeling just fine. The speed buff zone has just not been it for Oathh. Now gets pushed back.
Oh no.
Oh no, he's low health again. No. He's got a little extra damage this time around. Full crusher. Oh, his speed buff is just not it for Oathh. Now sends up the Typhoon and uses the beads. PandaTurtle plays it so well. And speed buff stolen away by We Pull Up. We asked for aggression. We're getting aggression. This team refusing to roll over.
No, I love this, though. That's a jungler play. Like, he dropped his ult and his beads to try and secure the
I think
buff.
he did get speed buff.
And he did pick it up.
He did.
And
okay.
so, again, little things like that. That's a commitment. You get the experience at the end of it, and you didn't die. Maybe missing out on some utility that your team would find really helpful, but Ducky doesn't seem to need any.
Oh, no.
I spoke too soon.
You know, you're never supposed to go near a tier 1 tower when you're laning against a tier. Ducky just didn't realize he was laning against a tier until PandaTurtle rotated through. Now the fighting on left begins. Oathh is finished off the kill on the Uzzy on right, but it's Quig being ganked. DonutDoug burns through Quig. Now this is very akin to what we saw early in game 1, where was We Pull Up, finding a kill on one side, Eldritch Hounds doing it on the other, and just this endless tug of war. The farm in the midst of it all is really where the Hounds pulled ahead.
I think that's going to be some of the struggles that they maybe have to deal with. They actually had a benefit.
He wants the speed.
And look, this is Oathh getting revenge, maybe feeling a little confident, maybe a little bit of both. He's going to get zoned out there. PandaTurtle, though, is the one that I want to keep my eyes on because small lead, right? A little bit of a gap because of Oath's death early on, though I don't anticipate that lasting forever considering how much he's stealing away.
So awkward.
And the way, I mean, so there's a certain point. I want to channel like my inner Mifflin here, where it's almost disrespectful the way he's playing against them there.
Oh my God!
What he just did is something you can only get when you're just better than the other team.
Oathh is just, he just bodies Soul Reaper. I think Soul Reaper thought there was more help, and Oathh was just dancing around behind the rock. Now DonutDoug with a kill. Won't find a second though. Dude Man Bro, the last bit of mana used to dash away. That is a ridiculous play from Oathh. And look, I don't know, maybe I'm just an Oathh fanboy, unsure, or I'm just reading the data properly. I said, look, once he dies to the speed, that's the beginning of it. Now 2 straight kills, picks up 1 onto a low health Uzzy.
No, yeah, he's going. We're going
Reaper,
straight to the moon, man. It's gonna be 10 kill or 8 more kills, 10 total. And that's if he slows down.
Yeah, Susano is too good, it feels like. And 2 levels already built up for Crimson and mid. Again, not much has happened there. This is a nice look for Quig. DonutDoug, no ult, but does have beads. Those will get used. So a little bit of damage connects. Dude Man Bro. Maybe, no, he won't connect with the stun. And now PandaTurtle on the tier. The couple of kills of his own. Up and over. Quig locked in place. And TeepIsBald, with their first kill of the game, we pull up, answering back with 2 kills on the duo lane.
I love this because Oathhh and Ducky just showed up on right. They just got a kill onto Uzzy. You have to make a play when you kill 2 people that could contend with the Gold Fury.
Can't get it stolen, though. Can't get it stolen, though. No, the Gold Fury will go to We Pull Up. And you have an Earthshaker. Better be able to out-confirm a Merlin, especially 4v1, like We Pull Up were. But some lower health bars means Oathhh has an opening. None of them have gone back. We Pull Up channeling the backs. Oathhh rooted in place. Oathhh sends the Typhoon through, but 4v1 can't overcome those odds. Now the Eldritch Hounds have lost their jungler for the 2nd time, and it's PandaTurtle on the killing spree.
If that's not a tier jungle, Oathhh gets at least one of those kills. It is just the CC from the tier that is saving lives there. Really well played. The Typhoon, I think being a little off the mark helps as well. The only downside really is that you go through all that. I mean, you're talking a big kill onto Oathhh, a kill onto the duo lane, so 3 total plus the Fury. And you're still technically behind where the Hounds are. And
XP-wise, for sure.
I was going to say, in this kind of moment, you're really in a spot where overall, you're probably focused more on the experience. Like, the gold doesn't make a huge swing. But 2 levels for solo, 2 levels in mid. You've got 2 levels on Quig, but Quig's got the stuff that an Ares needs to feel successful. And I don't think he's going to be feeling too hurt.
That's an ult button.
Yeah, no, an ult button and something to slow people down. Like, can he hit chains? Can he hit flames? Can he then pull you in?
Goodness, no! Oathhh now has been shut down again. PandaTurtle, the 4th of the game. This is why the desk core, I think, was slightly worried for the Eldritch Hounds and their jungler about this tier jungle. They just run at Oathhh. Now Transcendent stacking up as well. Remember, it was around the hi-rez time where Oathhh really hit the power spike in game 1, but PandaTurtle a bit more control here in game 2. Now Ducky rewinding the clock a bit. He'll get caught out. Cavalry charge, finds a stun, dashes through. Fire Giant on the assist, and Ducky will at least get 1 in the 4v1. Maybe he'll take that, but a kill onto the enemy as support. You're losing your solo laner. We pull up. They're now ahead, and they should get this Pyro.
Plus PandaTurtle's 5-0-1.
Oh, he's
that
low.
might change to 5-1-1.
Yeah, there's a
yeah, then a very quick instant.
No.
And you lose Soul Reaper plus TeepIsBald, so all that for Ducky plus Pyro. I don't know. That one's a very weird equation to have to follow out there.
This though.
For We Pull Up. If the tier 1 goes down, then it's a Hounds win through and through. But I think seeing what PandaTurtle can do, and specifically having the lead that PandaTurtle has, is what's making this pick feel so much better. Honestly, kind of surprised. I mean, Jotun's came to my mind when I see tier. You want cooldown, you want the Fearless a little more often. But instead, it's just a very heavy-handed damage so far from PandaTurtle. With the Transcendent stacking up, should have that pretty soon anyway. I expect to see more of this tier. I mean, I'm loving it so far. The way that he has been able to exert presence on the map. A lot of really good Fearlesses. And because of the lead he's been able to pick up, decent damage out there. That last death is going to hurt a little bit, especially giving a nice shutdown over towards Crimson. Probably not the best place for it to have gone. But I think that the tier right now is maybe a little bit of the saving grace to keep this team kind of moving forward.
Both teams. Now, in game 1, Core, we talked a lot about how the game's going to flow through the jungle. Feels very similar here in game 2. Still worried about that mid lane for We Pull Up, though, where PandaTurtle's done wonderfully. But again, it's Crimson with just the 1 kill, just the 1 assist. 3 levels ahead. 3 levels ahead of Soul Reaper on the
Just
Merlin.
farming.
Soul Reaper could fall further behind here. Pulled back in by Oathhh. Well-timed Aegis slows down. Oathhh goes back in on the Susano, waits out the Aegis, and ends up cleaning up the kill. So the KDA, not nearly as good for Oathhh, but the play's still there. Now Crimson, pressured out by PandaTurtle. The wall will prevent the pull back in. And over goes TeepIsBald. Lawbringer chasing down Crimson, but waiting for those cooldowns to come back because Crimson simply has too much damage. And a gallop forward from Ducky. Could chase down PandaTurtle here. Won't get any stuns with it. Instead will be stunned by Uzzy or TeepIsBald on the other end. And now Uzzy left alone. Didn't get the memo. The rest of the team is left. And Quig will chase down Uzzy, and the Eldritch Hounds, one by one, pick apart We Pull Up.
And now they're in a good spot. I mean, you have the map. You have an Oni Fury that's about to respawn 14 minutes in, so maybe a little too early for the Fire Giant talk, which is what I immediately wanted to dive into with this kind of map state. It feels like it'd be a very easy thing to put pressure on, but with the Oni Fury, that gives you a nice option to start to pull ahead. It's going to give you pressure in the lanes. You've already knocked down tier 1 in mid. That's opened up some of the jungle. Maybe more. No, PandaTurtle. No way you're going to allow him to get out of here.
Doesn't have Lawbringer. Oathhh wants to fix what's happened so far this game, and he'll be able to do so. PandaTurtle drops, and it's a killing spree again for Oathhh. TeepIsBald will also get pulled. And then the burn comes from Dude Man Bro. The Oni Fury still stands. You've got a Merlin that's very far ahead. Should be confirmed, but Earthshaker not there for Soul Reaper. He's under chase anyway. We Pull Up has stolen the Oni Fury, and it's DonutDoug on the front of the fight. But that is simply slowing it down. Wild Hunt drops, and Oni Fury stolen. Needed, I think, there for We Pull Up. The Eldritch Hounds were starting to run away with game 2.
Yeah, no, that was a necessary steal, but not only necessary, a really great timed steal. Last time, I mean, we're 16 minutes in last time, and we're talking about how difficult it is to fight back because We Pull Up is already 8,000 gold down. The fact that you've kept yourselves in this conversation so close is already a huge win for We Pull Up, but getting that Fury that's going to give you some of the pressure back in your lanes. You're going to be losing out. The Trebuchet now spawning up for the Hounds. So some small things maybe going in favor of the Chaos team, but you are open to your own jungle. You're going to be able to get all your own buffs. PandaTurtle has a moment to breathe. Blink is back up there. I think they have a lot of opportunities. Pressure is going to be the name of the game for them, what they can do with a little bit. Pyromancer is going to be coming up. Ideally, you can get your hands on that as well. But it's also focusing out Crimson. Unfortunately, Crimson's beads are going to be back by the time any big engagement or any fight starts out. Which kind of ruins the idea of, okay, now it's time for PandaTurtle to go big, get to the backline, kill off Crimson. That's the big target right now, right? I think that Dude Man Bro is a problem, but nowhere near as much as this Merlin right now. You know, Oathhh is a problem, but they tried shutting Oathhh down. It didn't necessarily work. I think if you can kill off the Merlin early in a fight, or at least force him to fall back, TKO him, it's going to be a very easy way to swing a fight in your favor. Whether that's around a Pyromancer, I mean, at this point, by the time we see a big team fight, Fire Giant has to be on the list. I think We Pull Up. I mean, their fate's in their own hands right now. They can definitely guide this game. The problem is you almost have to account at least a small mistake from the Hounds. And that is something that's hard to count for.
The Eldritch Hounds score have faced a tougher task here in game 2. I think PandaTurtle, regardless of the outcome of game 2, to be proud of. This tier has looked fantastic so far, especially with the way that things ended up in game number 1. And how about this call from the Eldritch Hounds? They're only about 1,500 gold ahead. The XP, though, may be feeling good. Crimson, 3 levels ahead of Soul Reaper, can burn down this Fire Giant quickly. Maybe the target instead is Uzzy, who will be pulled into the Lion's Den, and the Eldritch Hounds will take the Earthshaker. Doesn't do much. They're sustained still from Ducky, and a cavalry charge if needed. Oathhh will blank out and away. Lawbringer up and over from PandaTurtle, and he won't get a chance for a kill. And a Wild Hunt on the fadeaway from We Pull Up has turned 1 kill back, and it's Quig who drops. There's still damage for the Eldritch Hounds to fight in, but DonutDoug has some legs yet. But watch out, it's full health on Oathhh, and he's found the first. Dude Man Bro with the second, and it's a 4-for-2 trade. We Pull Up, lose 4, trade out 2 for the Eldritch Hounds.
Look, you get a good kill, and that is on the Crimson. And I think PandaTurtle, you know, there's 3 steps between PandaTurtle having an okay ultimate and a fantastic ultimate. We got the okay version. Just a little shimmy from any of the carries, a couple members of the Hounds. That's suddenly a 3-man Fearless, and it's maybe one of the best plays that We Pull Up could have made. It's just unfortunate. You only find 1, you get them low, it's nice, but then you're surrounded by 5. Good turn and burn from the Hounds makes it pretty easy to just kill a tier that's standing there all of a sudden. Then you've got a numbers advantage. Admittedly, I think a good clapback from We Pull Up to be able to pick up the kills they did. The problem being that the length, right? The longevity that continued at that point, because then suddenly we're in this conversation where it's like, oh, okay, you got 2. Oh, now it's 2 for 3. Now it's 2 for 4. And you're going to lose the Fire Giant. You know, a very, very quickly snowballing fight for the Hounds. And it was all on the back of Oathh. As much as it is, it kind of sucks to keep talking about it.
I know,
but he keeps making the plays.
Unfortunately, Gore, for you, if that's what you're worried about, you're going to have to talk about Oathh a whole lot over the course of this weekend, I imagine. I'm trying to remember. It was one of the SCC. It was either Angry or Crimson that had like a 30 KDA at one point. I'm thinking Angry now that I'm bringing
Angry
it up.
did have, he had like a 40-something.
Right,
Crimson was high up there for a long time as well.
Had only one of the two of them had only died like one time throughout.
And then at the end of the phase, I think it was Crimson.
Right.
Because then at the end of the phase, he died like 2 or 3 times.
Right.
And it was like across a
Shattered
set.
their KDA.
But the
right?
KDA tanked because of it, because he'd only died once up to that point.
Right, tanked from like a 40 to like a 10, which is ridiculous
it,
still.
It became normal good, not exceedingly what the hell's going on good.
Yeah, has been, look, Crimson has been sleeper crazy this set. And I say sleeper because I'm thinking of the level lead in game 1. It was on 000s, had not seen any action. The level lead in this game was built off of better farm, again, just the 1 kill, just the 1 assist by the time there was a 3-level lead. He's been an absolute farming maniac. And picks like the Merlin that want to scale up, you're going to get those picks online a bit faster when Crimson is your mid laner. It's well played all around from the Eldritch Hounds. Gore now with Fire Giant. They get it on everyone but Crimson. Plenty of gold in the back pocket. We're really starting to approach the same territory. Now, it's only a 5,000. We're literally half the amount of gold behind if we pull up than we were in game 1. Got to imagine you have a bit more to say about a Phoenix defense than you did the first time around.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Phoenix-wise, it should be a lot more of a stand. And what I like the most is that this time they're actually setting up for Phoenix defenses instead of trying to fight. I mean, last time around you were standing still outside. I mean, we saw so much ground gained by the Hounds. Because PandaTurtle and then I think Soul Reaper were just walking around in their jungle, like there weren't any buffs up. You know, we weren't getting anything. They just were wandering around. The Hound said, "Hey, look, free kill," and then took it. Now you've got a team that was waiting for the Hounds to back. Nobody was walking out on their own, getting picked off for no reason. It's going to limit this Fire Giant a lot more dramatically. Last time it was almost a game-winning play.
Yep.
You know, they got 2 Phoenixes, tons of gold in their pocket. They're still going to get the tons of gold. But the Phoenixes seem way less likely to do in the next minute and a half of the power play than pretty much anything else. That tier 2 on right definitely is looking like it could topple, but that might be the only one. If they lose a massive fight, Weak Pull Up could probably stand around it. But if they start to feel even a slight amount of pressure, they need to fall back to the Phoenix line. Just go ahead and seed the tower. It's going to seed you gold over towards the Hounds, but it'll keep everyone alive and be a lot easier if you're defending around a Phoenix, like you said.
Keeps you on the map. It's got to be priority 1. Delay out. See if we can close up some of these experience gaps. You got 3 in solo, 3 in mid. Support, you were ahead. If you're a We Pull Up for a little while, and that Quig has taken the lead again. Now, Oathhh was doing a lot of this in game 1 to end the game, finding solo kills. And the scales have tilted back towards the Susano. Early in the game, it was all PandaTurtle. Now it's Quig with chains on a few. Earthshaker looks big, but the shells mitigate enough of it. And Quig and the rest of the Eldritch Hounds can now walk forward. No PandaTurtle, no disruption. And it's Susano to deal with in mid lane. DonutDoug has to rotate over, but he can't say anything about it. And just as we saw in game 1, you lose a team member or 2, and you lose 2 Phoenixes before the Eldritch Hounds back off and wait for 1 more FG.
Oathhh died to speed buff this game.
Sure did.
That was the first death in the game.
Thank God it
Fell behind from PandaTurtle.
Right.
Now has a 2-level lead and soloed the opposing jungler out in the just like last 2 minutes. Plus now getting the Phoenixes. I mean, what a hell of a turnaround from the Hounds, considering how things started.
I made a very definitive statement that Oathhh was going to end the game largely the same anyway. I'm glad it's worked out in my favor,
Yeah.
right?
There's an alternate universe somewhere where Oathhh just fed his brains out after that. Died to 4 more buff camps.
Right, and then I'm looking real dumb after making such a foot down type
Declarative
of statement.
statement.
And now Oathhh can, with ease, pull those speed buffs. It's a rite of passage. Every great player has died to a neutral camp at one point or another.
Man, the worst one, most egregious one, it was Benji.
I still think it's Benji when
There was a blink to save from the Neath shot that was
That's right.
targeting him, and then he walked up and died to a back camp.
dies anyway. Yep.
On the Amaterasu.
I think that's the most egregious. Uzzy thinking there's some safety by their speed buff. There's not. Now without a solo laner, the Eldritch Hounds get FG on 5. 2 waves of fire minions pushing down the right and mid. And really just one more team fight, you imagine. That'll give the Eldritch Hounds the start to their weekend that they've been looking for.
And this has been...
Yeah, it's been.
I mean, honestly, just
what a
textbook
play.
forum.
I love it.
TeepIsBald jumping in. I mean, look, you're going to take a lot of burn damage. You're missing Uzzy. You're either fighting under the Titan room or you're losing the game.
I love the flicker over to let the Eldritch Hounds in. Earthshaker, swing and a miss from Soul Reapers. A stun on a DonutDoug, brought to you by Dude Man Bro. And the killing bro, the killing blow delivered by Ducky. Oathhh will keep things rolling right till game end. Dude Man Bro gets his killing spree. And the Eldritch Hounds score, they will get their 2-0. And they'll do it in convincing fashion.
And what they're going to do here, I can guarantee it. If they can get 2 more kills, specifically on Oathhh, no, Dude Man Bro is going to take that one. So the dream's dead. Seeing the 2-time back-to-back 10-kill game
1993, 1994.
for Oathhh. But I mean, look, 8-3 does really well. I think you had mentioned it, and even though the KD is not insane, I think Crimson has to be talked about because the damage numbers throughout that game were insane. I mean, you're talking really good burn around Furies, really good burn for Fire Giant, things like that, of course. But also just the player damage that he did by the end of it. A lot of the kills we're talking about going anywhere else on this team were brought to you by Crimson. He paid for them. It's just somebody else was able to go and pick it up and find and close it out.
Oathhh paid the speed buff for a really good game number 2. A little bit of everything here. It's exactly if you're a Hounds
can't
fan.
believe that happened.
I know it's great, but you know Oathhh the type of player you laugh it off and get right back to it. This is expectations set now for the Eldritch Hounds, and a potentially long weekend ahead for their opponents if the Hounds can keep up this level of play. 2-0 to start their weekend. That's it for Gore, and I will go back to the birthday boy on the desk to break it down.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dave and Gore. Game number 2 does go to the Eldritch Hounds pretty convincingly, similar to game number 1, though not the exact same level of dominance this time, Charlie. We did have some fight back from we pull up in game number 2. This tier jungle did surprisingly better than maybe what we'd expected. We haven't seen a tier jungle in such a long time, so I think up in the air as to how it could perform. Goes out, I think, 5-5 to kind of end game number 2. But I think having some bounce back, more than anything, having a little bit of earlier fight, maybe the fact that the PvE was at least on the side of we pull up, at least kind of helped that early momentum for the SOC team. But the Eldritch Hounds, once they're able to bunker down, Ducky's able to get a part of these fights. I think 5-2 finish for the Guan Yu out there, and then 8-kill game once again for Oathhh.
Yeah, and I think that really did help we pull up, having a little bit more early pressure with that tier. And I think it also probably scared him, you know, like Oathhh was like, oh man, I don't want to fight the tier because he's so intimidating. I'm going to go to my speed buff, and he lost that fight, and that probably got in his head as well, dying to his own buff. Jokes aside, it's very difficult to count out, or I guess in this case, count on anyone being able to take on the Eldritch Hounds. I mean, every time I come up here, I think to myself, yeah, they got a shot, but until someone really just stuffs them in the early and makes sure that there's no way that the Hounds can use this influence throughout, and more specifically, it's even at this point, but still the gold lead's always climbing. It's so hard to just say, yeah, the Hounds have a chance of losing this. You know, they are just such a dominant team right now, such a dominant force. You can tell that they've got group stages on their mind.
Yeah, the Eldritch Hounds. And this is kind of a set of expectations. Like, this is one, you're the number 1 seed fighting against the number 8 seed, basically, at this point. It's the number 2 SOC. This is one that, if you're barely even dropping games to your counter-ups in the SCC, you know, your Athenian Sages, your Yomi Tanuki, you know, your 2s and 3s in that point, if you're not dropping games to those guys, probably don't want to be dropping games over to the SOC squad out here. We pull up, though, did have some strong moments through there. Again, this tier jungle started off really good. I think at one point it was even at 5-0, but unfortunately, that's when the Eldritch Hounds started kicking into high gear. Crimson on this. Merlin looked really strong, able to put out top damage in the lobby, nearly 30,000 by the time that this one rounds out there. The Eldritch Hounds, your number 1 seed. Expectations to win this set 2-0 probably were kind of to be had for everybody.
Yeah, and I think PandaTurtle did a really great job, but unfortunately the draft also dealt with the tier pretty well, having the knockup community with Uzzy, but more specifically the chains from Ares really looked annoying towards the late team fights. Like, tier is one of those junglers that I think has a really good time early, but late game, you're not 100-0ing someone with your combo anymore because there's just so much CC that stops both Fearlesses. And so it's not, if you're not winning with that snowball, the late game doesn't look too much better.
Now, the good news for We Pull Up is that this isn't the end of the road for them. You lose one set, well, now you drop down into the losers bracket, which we can take a look at right now to see how it still pans out for the remainder of their path in towards the second half of play. Remember, top 2 from each of the groups move on to the elimination stage, which will be a bracket that looks pretty much exactly like this one, but with potentially 4 completely different teams within that. But Eldritch Hounds find their 2-0 to start the day. The Callan Wardens and Anansi Weavers, the other 2 in the group. The winner of that will move on to face the Wardens. Loser goes against We Pull Up. That'll be match 3 of our day, but our second and 4th match is over in Group B instead. We can take a look over at those guys here in just a moment, where that group is actually made up of the number 2 seed now, the Athenian Sages, up against the number 1 SOC, so slightly narrowing the gap a little bit to the difference in seeding with Athenian Sages versus Blubberbottoms. Still a fantastic name. I'm going to say that every time that I get the chance to. Great team name out of the SOC squad there. Again, that roster over there, Antics, Promise, Briz, Elion, and Slash, making up them, and then Yomi Tanuki and Shibalba Storm, the other of Group B. That'll be the 4th and final match of today. Again, top 2 from this group and top 2 from Group A will go on and make a 3rd group. We'll call it Group C in that regard. That'll be on the second half of Saturday. We'll actually get to see all those groups culminate together and then play towards their chance to take only the top 2 to the SWC group stage early on in January. Should be an exciting remainder of our day. At the very least, we get to see some more of the SOC talent. I think this one may be a little bit closer out there. Still a lot of veteran talent between these ones. I mean, looking over at Elion, Briz, Promise, kind of that core 3 of Blubberbombs. This is one I'm going to keep my eyes on when we move into this next one. But set number 1 is done. We've got our second set of the SCC versus the SOC coming up right after this break.